It's time for our midweek mini. This is Wonderland on Points presented by Yahoo Travel. And today we have a pretty relevant midweek mini that accompanies, I have a funny story to accompany it. I'm just going to say that. We are going to get into some popular acronyms in the Points and Miles world, because if you're just new to Points and Miles and you are on the Facebook pages and you're really learning a lot, but you see coded this weird text in post and you're like, what are they talking about? What do these letters mean? We're going to get into some of that today.
Some people are mean in Facebook groups too. There will be new people in there like, I'm so sorry, what does SUB mean? And people will be like, look it up. And first of all, our Facebook group is not like that. So just people will be kind to you no matter what you ask in our Facebook group, because if they're not, we politely exit them, because ours is supposed to feel warm and inviting for people of all levels. But it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. When I first started, my head was spinning from all of the acronyms. And so we, many moons ago, guys, episode 50 went into this a little bit, but we're now past episode 200 and there's so many more of you. And so we think we need to hit it again for our brand new people. So we're going to talk a little bit about acronyms, and then we're going to talk a little bit about annual fees, two things that are confusing and overwhelming in their own ways.
Yeah, acronyms are tricky, guys, because they make life easier, right? Shorthand, it's helpful to type acronyms. But we just had a really funny experience. So as you guys know, if you've been listening to the podcast, we are writing a newsletter for Yahoo Travel now. It's called Why Wonder. And we've been working with the editors there. And one of our newsletters came out and I looked at it and I was excited. One of our first newsletters. And I immediately screenshotted it to Joanna and was like, because I wrote the newsletter, but they make little edits here and there. Sometimes they can change our word choices just a little bit. And they were playing with the format thing, and it said at the bottom, it said TLDR, and a little semicolon was there, and I was like, Joanna, is this like a weird coding thing? Was this an accident? Like, did they overlook something and accidentally put some kind of internal weird mess up in the newsletter? Joanna wasn't sure what it was either, promptly looks it up, and then I was like, and I have told them this story already, so it's not a secret, looks it up and says, oh my gosh, that means too long, didn't read. And we were like, wait, should I be offended that the newsletter that I submitted to them, like internally amongst themselves, they were like, oh, too long, didn't read this.
I don't think either of us do a lot of like blog reading. I think we're auditory learners. And so this was new for us. It turns out some people do know what it is. But I would have to say that you did a poll and the majority of people do not. So I'm in good company.
Yes, I did do a poll. I think it was 54% of people responded. There was like 100 people that responded, and over 50% did not know what it was. So then I felt a lot better. But it just, all that to say, acronyms can be confusing, and we can't assume that everybody understands everything. So let's today get into real quick what some of the most common Points and Miles acronyms are, so that everybody here in the world of Wonderland on Points is on the same page.
Yeah, I think that is the best case scenario. And for anybody who still does not know, TLDR is like the summary at the bottom. That's really the purpose of it. It's like a one-line wrap-up if you felt that
if you're
very
skimming,
short
you don't want to read everything.
It's really short, guys. Sign up for the Why Wonder newsletter because it's great, and we keep it short for you on purpose because we don't want you to have to sit there reading forever. Just little bite-sized nuggets. All right, let's dig in. I think the most important acronym of all that we use is SUB. Now, you will find that in shorthand, people use this a lot because sign-up bonus used to be kind of the preferred language for the amount of points you can earn when you first open a card. So you earn the SUB. You spend this much money, you get this many points. That's your SUB. Now, you will notice a lot more creators, especially saying welcome offer now, because that's like the approved language for companies and credit card affiliates. But when you see SUB written, it's the same thing as welcome offer.
Yep. Another one that we see a lot is P1 and P2. P1 did this, P2 did that. This is like video game lingo for the points and miles world. This is player
Mhm.
one, player two. So if you have a spouse, if you have a close friend that you travel with, and you guys refer each other sometimes for credit cards, this is P1 is opening a card and then I'm referring it to P2, player one and player two. So this is somebody that you can coordinate with to really earn lots of points and miles very quickly. It's very helpful to have a P2. Some people even have a P3. That's adult children maybe in the
Mhm.
mix, or a group of friends that travels together, so you share a lot of points and miles. Yeah, one day my son, he has his first Amex Gold card now. It's part of my account. He's an authorized user, but it did earn me 10,000 membership rewards after I signed him up. One day he is going to be my P3. He's going to be my little travel buddy P3.
Knock on wood, one can only hope. I've heard tell that when parents are in points and miles, kids sometimes go the other direction. But I think your son sees the value. I think he'll get in on it. Okay, next we're going to do AF, which is annual fee. And while we're on the A ones, I think we should also mention AU, as you just mentioned, which is authorized user. So if you see someone typing AF, they're talking about annual fee. AU is authorized user.
Yeah, AF is also slang acronym that other people use, right? But that's not
Sure
how we
is.
use it.
It's
We
not
use
how
it
we
to
use
mean
it.
annual fee.
That is
Okay, the
correct.
next one is when you are searching in groups and someone had a problem, maybe somebody responds and says HUCA. I'm going to call that HUCA, HUCA in all capitals. That means hang up, call again. So sometimes if you are, say you have an annual fee coming up and you're trying to get a retention offer from American Express and you contact them and they're like, sorry, out of luck, there's no retention offers. Or maybe they give you one, but it's not great. Somebody might advise you HUCA. That means hang up, call again. Try again in a couple days because different representatives might give you different answers. On different days, you might
Mhm.
get different answers. So that's a common one you see in Facebook groups.
Okay, a few more. I'm going to do these ones just rapid fire because these are ones you're going to see all the time. And guys, this is not even close to all of them. You're going to see CPP, which is cents per point. That tells you about how much value you're getting. You might see FNC, which is free night certificate, which is something that a lot
Or
of cards come
FNA,
with, or
free
free
night
night award.
award,
That's also,
depending on the program.
That's true. Program does matter. You might see people say recon, which means you're calling the reconsideration line, which is what you might do if you had a HUCA situation. You would hang up and call again. Who you're calling is recon. Okay, guys. I feel like we're sounding like we're
Oh,
talking a
I
different
know.
language right
It's
now. You
appropriate
might
on YouTube that we have these headphones on. I feel like we need a little microphone piece right in
gamer.
the front, a little gamer microphone.
I That is hilarious. That is what we look like right now. So you also will see a lot of acronyms for cards. You'll see CSP for Chase Sapphire Preferred or CSR for Chase Sapphire Reserve. You might see the inks. They would be CIBP for Ink Business Preferred, CIC for Chase Ink Cash, CIU for Chase Ink Unlimited. You'll see MRs, which is talking about Amex membership rewards. You might see UR for Chase Ultimate Rewards. Guys, learning your acronyms will help you when you're decoding Facebook interactions. And Facebook is a really good place to bolster your knowledge. I would highly recommend getting into Facebook groups. I personally think you should be in our Facebook group, but the great news is you can be in all of them if you want. And they all have, amazing people in there ready to help you learn.
Okay, so that's a lot of the acronyms. Now let's just briefly get into the topic of annual fees because we think that this is becoming a more and more important topic to consider because the elite level cards are becoming so
Mhm.
popular. Every bank, every airline, every hotel feels like now they need to have some elite level card that has an annual fee that's $395 or more,
Mhm.
$795, $895. Ooh, guys, we want to tell you about another podcast because we love podcasts and you are a podcast listener too. So go check out the Trip Tales podcast by our friend Kelsey.
Trip Tales is a travel podcast where each week a real person shares their real trip from start to finish, where they stayed, what they did, what they ate, and what they would do differently next time. It's packed with practical tips and itinerary ideas, and it will either inspire your next vacation or feel like a mini getaway in the middle of your day. If you love the Wonderland on Points podcast, you will love the trip reports from Trip Tales.
Okay, back to the episode. These crazy annual fees, and you have to press pause, which you probably are already if it's that high, and think, am I going to get value from this? In the points and miles world, generally, you can get way more than that value out of a credit card, especially in the first year, because the welcome offer points are worth so much that it's almost always worth it for the first year for a card. But after that first year, you really need to evaluate and weigh the pros and cons, the benefits of the card with the annual fee.
Yeah, I want to tell you guys that I used to be annual fee averse entirely. I mean, in my opinion, especially prior to travel rewards, for sure, I was like, oh, people are so dumb. They pay to have a credit card. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like I had a very snobby attitude about it because I truly did not understand what was happening over here on this side of the points and miles aisle. Now that I understand, I'm much more open about annual fees. I find the longer I do this, the more I'm willing to go for those higher annual fees. But here's what I want to tell you, which is the very first thing you have to take into consideration with the annual fees is, can my budget sustain this amount of money right now? Because yeah, in 12 months, you can totally get your value returned to you and more. But you have to have that money right now in your first month. If your card's got a $400 annual fee, it's due by the end of your first statement, guys. And so that is a really important consideration. And if that's not the case for you, that's okay. There are so many low or no annual fee cards that you can still use to do this hobby. But if you do maybe you have a travel budget already set aside, and maybe you're strategizing like, okay, this $800 annual fee is part of my travel budget. So we're going to take our travel funds, pay this annual fee, and then we're really going to get the value of, first of all, that welcome offer, and then the credits, the lounge access, the various things that we can stack on top of each other that this card offers in order to offset our annual fee. It's not free, although sometimes you start getting free stuff once you hit the value that you've already spent, but it does require strategy, thought, wisdom, and some cash up front.
Yeah, and to me, it's gotten harder lately now that there are so many programs that offer these high annual fee cards. Because when I first started, and maybe my family first got our Amex Platinum, that was the one card that had the really big annual fee. And it's like, okay, because we're focused on that one card, we can use all the benefits and we can offset this. But then I got a Venture X. Then we got City Strata Elites ×2. And then, when you start thinking of all the big cards and having all of those, some people can have them all and manage them all and still feel like they're getting benefit. But some of the benefits start overlapping. And then this is when I see my value from all the cards kind of dropping because I'm no longer able to focus. My ADHD kind of loses control, and then I'm not maxing out my value for each individual card. They all have TSA pre-check. So that value can't really be attributed to each of those cards when you're trying to justify the annual fee. So it gets tricky the more you have. That being said, I still pick and choose and have a lot of those high annual fee cards. But I'm thinking twice about it now. I'm really taking it into consideration. I do not have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card. And at some point, I probably will. But if I do, I think I need to downgrade another card away from the high annual fee because I just can't justify carrying all the high annual fees at one time.
Yeah. And guys, I only have one high annual fee card. I have my Amex Gold. That is my highest annual fee. And everything else that I have is more of that like $95 realm annual fee or less. So I think my Southwest business is like 150 or 200 or something like that. But again, Amex Gold is the highest. So there are ways to successfully play this game without it. But like I said, I've now gone through all of those, earned those bonuses. I'm kind of looking up towards the future, what's next. And as I plan, I'm setting aside money with the purpose of opening cards and having money for annual fees. Like, so that's the point with strategy and budgeting, is that I know I can offset these. I know I can use the benefits. I know that I'm going to need to have the money to open this card. So I'm planning and I'm not making any hasty decisions. But we don't want you guys to be scared of annual fees. You
No,
can't be in this hobby. You have to be willing to consider them and to consider the value.
you just
Case
need
in
to
point.
know your benefits and make sure you're getting the use out of them. I did see a really funny reel this week of somebody who like had their Amex Platinum card and it was like questioning them basically like, is this card really worth it? They're like, oh, it's so heavy. I pay for the luxury. And they're just, it was a very funny internet reel that I came across. But I thought, oh, this is so true though. I mean, sometimes we justify things a little like, was I really going to go to Lululemon? No, I had literally never shopped there in my entire life. And now I get quarterly credits and I shop there quarterly. But I do, saying all of this, I do love having the fun perks. It is nice to be able to go in a lounge. It's going to be hard to part ways with some of these at some point because once you taste, the fancy card, it's hard. It's hard to let go of it.
I'm just going to keep sneaking into other people's lounges on their passes for as long as I can, although it's getting more and more. In fact, we have to figure out what we're doing literally next week, although by the time you hear this, it will have been last week. So, got to figure out if you're just bringing food out for me or if I'm springing for a day pass.
I will always bring food from the lounge for you. That was actually part of that reel. He was traveling with a friend and was like, see ya, I'm going to the lounge. See you at the gate. I'll bring you lounge food at the gate.
Painful. All right, guys. Well, we hope that this was helpful for you. We definitely want to make sure we're keeping you informed of all of those beginner building blocks because there's always new people coming in and those are so important. But if you're not a beginner here, make sure you're joining us all the places. Make sure you're on the newsletter. Make sure you're in the Facebook group. Make sure you're following us on Instagram because we want to be helping people at every stage of their journey. We're always here for you if you need to reach out and ask questions. We love you guys so much and we will see you here next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.